Breaking news for all UK drivers. November 2025 has arrived with some of the most significant driving law changes in decades. And if you've been behind the wheel for years, what I'm about to share could have a major impact on your daily life. These aren't minor adjustments or suggestions. They are official legislative updates that the government has quietly introduced, and many drivers may be caught off guard simply because the publicity around them has been minimal. Thousands of motorists could now be liable for fines, points on their license, or other penalties, often without even realizing that the rules have shifted. It's vital to understand these changes because they affect almost every aspect of driving, from the type of vehicles allowed in certain areas to how we use mobile phones, park, and even prove we're insured. Let's start by acknowledging that these updates are far-reaching. They apply across the United Kingdom, whether you're driving in London, Edinburgh, Manchester, Cardiff, or any smaller town in between. The four major changes introduced this November touch on issues that most drivers have long considered settled, which is what makes them so alarming. Practices that have been safe and legal for decades may now expose drivers to penalties, and that includes even the most experienced motorists. I've spent considerable time reviewing the official government documents, consulting with traffic law experts, and digging into the details to make sure the information I share here is accurate and practical, cutting through the confusion that's been spreading online. The first major change relates to emission zones and older vehicles. The government has expanded ultra-low emission zone requirements, not just in London, but now across multiple major cities throughout England, Scotland, and Wales. If your car is more than 15 years old, you might think this doesn't concern you, especially if you've never had trouble entering city centers before. But that assumption could be costly. These zones now cover more streets and areas than ever before, and simply passing through an extended zone, even on your way to another destination, can trigger daily charges. The tricky part is that the boundaries aren't always clearly marked. While major entry points have signage, smaller roads, side streets, or residential areas might not, leaving many drivers unknowingly in breach of the rules. Enforcement relies heavily on automatic number plate recognition cameras, which means you might not even realize you've been charged until you receive a notice days or weeks later. Ignoring these charges can escalate them rapidly, with fines easily reaching over £100 for a single incident. The second change concerns mobile phone use while driving, and it's much stricter than what most drivers assume. Previously, there were gray areas, like using your phone while stationary in traffic, or briefly checking directions while the engine was running. Those exceptions are now gone. Under the new November 2025 rules, if you're in the driver's seat with the engine on, you cannot touch your phone for any reason. That includes checking a message, scrolling through music, or even using your phone as a sat-nav unless it's properly mounted. Violating this regulation carries severe penalties, 6 points on your license, and a fine of £200 for a first offense. Enforcement has become far more sophisticated. Police now have access to technology that can detect phone use even from a distance, and the likelihood of being caught for a brief glance or a quick swipe has increased dramatically. This is a wake-up call for anyone who thought the old rules still applied. Parking regulations have also undergone a dramatic shift. Local councils have been given much broader powers to enforce parking rules, which could impact your daily errands more than you realize. Under the updated legislation, councils can now issue penalties in places that previously only warranted warnings. This includes private roads, residential estates, and car parks associated with local businesses. Minor infractions, such as slightly exceeding a time limit, parking with a wheel on the curb, or even partially obstructing a dropped curb, can now result in fines. While these measures aim to improve safety and traffic flow, especially for pedestrians and parents with pushchairs, the strict enforcement leaves little room for discretion. Even experienced drivers who have followed previous parking norms could now find themselves penalized. The key is vigilance and planning. Know your limits, monitor the parking signs carefully, and take photos if necessary to document your compliance. The fourth change is universal and affects every single driver: proof of insurance. Until now, if you were stopped by police without physical insurance documents, you could produce them within 7 days. That grace period no longer exists. You must now show proof of insurance immediately, either as a physical certificate or through a digital copy on your mobile device. However, this intersects with the stricter mobile phone laws, creating a tricky situation. To show proof digitally, you must use your phone, but doing so while the engine is running technically violates the new phone rules. The government guidance suggests turning off your engine before accessing the phone, but in real-world traffic stops, especially on busy roads or while keeping hazard lights on, that's not always practical. This contradiction has left many drivers unsure of the safest way to comply without breaking one law while following another. Beyond these four major changes, several related updates have increased penalties across the board. Fines for various driving offenses have risen significantly. Points on licenses are being assigned more aggressively, and accumulating enough points for a driving ban has become easier than ever. Even careful, long-term drivers who have never had an incident could find themselves inadvertently penalized under these stricter rules. Awareness and preparation are now more important than ever. So, what can you do to protect yourself? First, check whether your vehicle meets the emission standards for the areas you drive regularly. Use the government's online checker and explore options like paying the daily charge, rerouting to avoid zones, or applying for available exemptions or discounts. For mobile phone safety, invest in a proper fixed phone mount, set up navigation before you start driving, and rely on voice commands whenever possible. If you need to check your phone for any reason, make sure the engine is off and the vehicle is parked safely. For parking, adopt a cautious approach. Treat time limits as shorter than they are. Document signage, and always be ready to appeal if you believe a fine was unfairly issued. Regarding insurance, request a digital copy from your provider and save it in an easily accessible location. Printing a backup physical copy is also wise. The goal is to avoid scrambling during a stop and inadvertently breaking the law while trying to comply. In summary, November 2025 is a pivotal month for UK drivers. These changes are extensive, interrelated, and enforceable immediately. Staying informed and proactive is crucial to avoid fines, points, and legal headaches. By taking the time now to understand the rules, adjust your driving habits, and prepare your documentation, you can continue to drive safely and legally. Knowledge is power, and in this case, it can also save you hundreds of pounds and a lot of stress. If you found this guide useful, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more updates on UK driving regulations. Share this video with friends and family who drive regularly, because everyone needs to be aware of these critical changes. Leave your comments below. Have you already encountered any of these new regulations, or do you have questions about how they apply to your vehicle? We read every comment and provide practical tips to keep UK drivers fully informed. Staying alert, educated, and prepared is the best way to ensure that these new laws work in your favor rather than against you.